Hello, good morning. Our first issue is landslides in Maharashtra. Recently, southwest monsoon and the heavy rainfall associated with it has led to floods in many parts of Maharashtra. That has led to landslides. Land sliding down along the slope under the influence of gravity is known as landslides. So landslides in Maharashtra region, coastal Konkan region, that has led to death of few individuals, especially near Mumbai region, slums on hilly slopes. These are highly vulnerable. As the population density in a small area is very high, the impact would be very high. That's why the solution would be one in rehabilitation of slum dwellers into safer places, two, slope strengthening, building retaining walls. These should be done. Next issue is drone and security concerns. Recently, a drone with explosives was shot down in Jammu's Aknoor district. Earlier, also near Jammu Air Force Station, similar incident has happened few weeks before. This drone was carrying IED explosives, and it is fitted with both flight controller and a GPS to have the directions. In this context, drones have become one of the important security concerns. Yes, drones have many other advantages. It can be used in agriculture, it can be used in warfare, it can be used in reconnaissance and other areas. But they have become security threats. That's why recent draft drone rules 2021 has one, proposed to regulate the use of drones, two, to promote the use of drones also for other applications. To address the security concerns, drone jammers can be installed in the critically or sensitive zones. Next issue is G20 Climate and Energy Joint Meeting. G20 group of 20 countries, they have met virtually, and this climate and energy joint meeting was held. India is actively participating in the global governance with regard to climate change and energy. For example, we have International Solar Alliance, combinedly proposed by India and France. There are more than 120 countries who are members into this particular group now. In Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, this is also proposed by India to have cooperation from the global countries in building the disaster resilient infrastructure. In this context, common but differentiated responsibility is very important principle, CBDR. To combat the climate change, this particular principle says that a country should contribute according to its respective contributions. So this is the primary central theme of UNFCCC framework under Paris Agreement. In this context, recently they have discussed about how to go about addressing climate change and energy needs. This is going to be prelude to UNFCCC's Glasgow conference or Glasgow summit. If we observe the India's climate goals or energy goals, these include going for 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, enhanced ambition in biofuels, India's INDCs or NDC means nationally determined contributions under Paris agreements, and initiatives under Urban Climate Action Plan. These are some of the goals that India has, commitments that India has under climate change and energy. Next issue is Uniform Civil Code. What do we mean by Uniform Civil Code? Civil Code deals with marriages, divorce, inheritance, adoption, etc. So, for these issues, every religion has its own rules and its own codes. We have Uniform Criminal Code. Criminal laws apply equally to every individual, irrespective of religion, caste, etc. Similarly, why can't we have Uniform Civil Code? One of the objectives of DPSP under Article 44 is to bring in Uniform Civil Code. In this context, recently, one of BJP's MPs has proposed to introduce a private member bill to bring in Uniform Civil Code. In this context, many left party MPs, have moved a motion objecting the introduction of this particular bill. Why? This is required, but this kind of legislation requires extensive discussions, debates. India has diversity of religions, cultures, traditions. So when there are proposals to change them, we need to discuss about them. We need to have consensus, otherwise it is going to lead to conflicts. That's why it is famously said that all reforms must not only do justice but must appear to be just as well. That's the theme. That should be the spirit of introducing such reforms. Next issue is 30th anniversary of LPG reforms. In 1991, India has implemented liberalization, privatization, globalization reforms. That's the starting point, and the reform process continued over the years. LPG reforms, they have led to economic growth. We have crossed Hindu growth rate, and our economic growth rate crossed 6%, 7%, and at one point it reached to double digit also. India now has become a $3 trillion economy. Poverty levels compared to 1991 reduced. Now the goals include: we should promote the health, inclusive growth, sustainable development and growth. These should be the goals of present generation reforms. Next issue is prevention of suicides in prisons. National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, NIMHANS, Bangalore, it has recommended for gatekeeper model. What is this gatekeeper model? You identify the individuals who are more prone to more risk of suicide and then refer them to the treatment or supportive services. It means don't treat everyone equally. Identify the more vulnerable and give them the treatment. That method is known as gatekeeper method or gatekeeper model. That model needs to be followed, and this institution also has proposed for a buddy system. Buddy system means inmates prisoners, they can call to the dedicated individuals who will listen. Whenever they say who will listen, these individuals are called as buddies. Buddies means friends model. So these two models are proposed by this institution to prevent suicides in prisons. Next, let us understand the editorials. First one is Ganga River Pollution Management. Recently, an NGO has conducted a study whose findings have said that there are high scale pollution in Ganga River, especially microplastic pollution. Plastic filaments, fibers, fragments, microbeads, etc. The concentration of these are high in the Ganga River. This plastic pollution might be due to the industrial and other plastics that have accumulated into Ganga River. Slowly they broke down into small pieces. Now microplastics have become a global threat now. These microplastics are not limited to our rivers and land. In the remotest of the places in the world, such as Mount Everest, Arctic snow, Icelandic glaciers, French Pyrenees, depths of Mariana Trench. In these areas, which are remotest of the places, in these places also microplastics are found. In this context, in India, we have plastic management rules, we have solid waste management rules, and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan program. These things need to be strengthened, and the plastic pollution need to be addressed. Next issue is Brexit and Good Friday Agreement. Brexit means UK, United Kingdom, leaving out of European Union. Brexit referendum was conducted in 2016. Finally, UK came out of European Union in 2019. Brexit agreement was made between UK and European Union. What do we mean by Brexit agreement? It means how European Union and the UK should have the relation post Brexit. That is known as Brexit agreement. In that agreement, there is a protocol called as Northern Ireland Protocol. Northern Ireland is part of UK, United Kingdom. Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland, these two form one single island. So now Republic of Ireland is part of European Union. Now European Union and UK, as these two are getting separated, there should be border controls between this group and the country. But now, as this entire Ireland is one single entity, the Northern Ireland didn't agree for this kind of separation. So in this particular protocol, Northern Ireland Protocol, it is said that there won't be any border control between Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Initially they agreed both sides, but now it has become an economic and political issue. Why political issue? Because what is the use of coming out of European Union when a part of UK is virtually acting as a part of European Union now. When there is no border controls, what is the use of coming out of European Union? That's the question, political question. Second one is economic question. Now, as they don't have the border controls at the Northern Ireland border, they have the controls at the port level. That is, once the goods and services, once they cross across the ocean, or once they cross across the waters from this island to the mainland of UK, then border controls apply. That has become an economic issue. That's why UK is seeking for revision of this particular protocol. Next issue is Sero-Survey Model. Recently we have seen that ICMR has conducted Sero-Survey, national level Sero-Survey. It has said that 2/3 of Indians have antibodies already developed. 40 crore individuals are vulnerable. In this context, many states and municipalities they are going for their own serious surveys. One such good example is Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, it has conducted its own zero prevalence studies in June 2021, and they have the data now. According to that data, city level data, 81% of the population are sampled, and now they can have good management planners or no. 81% of people were surveyed. Now they can have a good plan. In this context, we have 40 cities with over 10 lakh population. Million means 10 lakh population. Another 300 cities have population between 1 to 10 lakh. So in this context, what if they also go for this kind of zero prevalence survey? Can we have a good COVID strategy? In this context, COVID control strategy should take into account Ahmedabad model. Final issue is protection of Great Indian Bustard. Recently, Supreme Court in Mngt Rajnist versus others versus Union of India case, it has mentioned that overhead lines in the power projects they exist in Rajasthan, Gujarat, etc. These areas are the home areas for Great Indian Bustard. Great Indian Bustard is one of the critically endangered species. In this context, Supreme Court has said that Rajasthan and Gujarat should take the steps to install the bird diverters along these power lines and consider the conversion of overhead cables into underground power cables, because many of these species they are dying due to these power cables, electric shock of these power cables. Great Indian Bustard is a critically endangered animal. In this context, this Supreme Court judgment can be seen in this way. Anthropocentrism versus biocentrism. What is it? Everything is seen according to human. That kind of philosophy is known as anthropocentrism. Everything is seen as the entire biosystem. That means not just humans, even animals have their own rights. That's called biocentrism. This particular judgment of Supreme Court has upheld the biocentrism. In this context, right of nature laws. This is now becoming into a major field in legislative activities. What is it? Nature also has certain rights. It's not the human's rights. Nature also has its rights. If this country, Ecuador in 2018 became the first country in the world to recognize rights of nature in its own constitution. It's the time for India and other countries to recognize biocentrism, to recognize the right of nature laws. These are today's articles. Thank you very much. All the very best.